All right, all right. Welcome everybody to another edition of Moonhawk Studios Presents, and I'm waiting for that so I can mute it. Studios, quiet. Welcome to another edition of Moonhawk Studios Presents, the podcast that's always professionally unprofessional. I am your host, Mac Paladin, and I have a terrible bit rate. Is this actually working? Green. Let me refresh my page here. Our longtime fan and listener, Potato Sniff, will be overjoyed to know that we are still, without fail, having technical failures of some kind.
We're still messy around here.
It's working okay on my end.
Good deal, good deal. So let's try that again. Hi, I'm Mac Paladin, and this is Moonhawk Studios Presents, the professionally unprofessional podcast that likes to echo, co. With me in the studio, as always, is my good friend Adam.
Hello.
And, of course, we've got Kevin in the house.
Hello.
Petty fans lurking in the corner.
Oh, God, where am I?
And, of course, we have my other co-host, the Golix.
Yes, I am here.
You were basically sitting on the cough button, weren't you?
A little bit. And also, yeah, it just caught me unawares. I've been trying to make sure the sound is going smoothly.
Okay. All right. Well, as always, we allegedly have a great show for you tonight, and tonight is no different. I don't know why I said it like that. Anyway, I'm not all here. I'm gonna break tradition and start off a little mini rant instead of jumping right into how everybody's doing. For the past 6 months, Varias and I have been dealing with a series of quote-unquote post-COVID related shenanigans from the place where we live.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with a surprise, we're going back to doing annual inspections in November, where they determined we weren't clean enough, gave us a clean or quit, and gave us, 11 days to take care of it. Which was not enough because the two of us were still hurting from the first cleaning session. We had to hide cats. We had to shove things in cabinets that had never been in cabinets before, dispose of a metric ton of things, repair holes in the walls, all manner of horrible stuff. And then they came in, looked around, went, okay, it looks good, and left. And then bug inspectors came again, and again, and again. And then we finally got another notice saying that, first of all, shut up, Hippie. Hey, I got the hose. I have an unneutered Tom. He needs to get fixed, but nobody has money right now, so we're winging it. Anyway, so they come in, they come and do a preliminary inspection, and they do a little bit of spraying in here, and then they send another inspection team.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just constantly having to stop everything and clean. And then this past time they gave us the wrong checklist. So what they really needed us to do was prepare for the bug bombing apocalypse. And they gave us we're just going to put a little bit of roach bait down and it's going to be okay checklist. So the difference was literally minor cleanup versus the apocalypse.
Literally, they're like in more than one apartment.
Yeah, the whole building needs to be fumigated. This is a Tucson problem, but it was particularly bad here because, frankly, this place has been a bit neglectful since long before COVID, and it got especially bad during the COVID, especially during the lockdowns, where they were just not doing anything at all. The office was always closed. You always had to call the emergency number. Maintenance wouldn't go into people's apartments. And you would tell, and the only thing that they were doing was state mandated stuff. Like in Arizona, we have a particular regulation that says that if your air conditioner is out, it has to be fixed within 24 hours, no exceptions under the law. Well, what about COVID? Fuck COVID. You know, we're past the 5-minute mark. Don't worry about it.
At this point.
Yeah, fuck COVID. You have to fix it. So we had an air conditioner breakage that they fixed. There was a leak. There was a leak in the roof from the upstairs apartment that they just wouldn't come out and address. My backyard fence blew down in the summer of 2019. It is still not replaced. Oh, we're trying to get the funding together to replace all the fences on the property. Great. I'm exposed to the elements while this thing is down, while you're getting your shit together. So this has been going on for some time. And so this apocalyptic cleaning was sprung upon us. We got the full details of it in the proper checklist with 48 on Saturday on Memorial Day 4-day weekend. So we couldn't hire movers, not that we had any money. We couldn't hire movers, we couldn't do anything. And then while we were pulling the place apart, Kira kept injuring herself. The straw that broke the camel's back, though, was we took all the kitchen drawers out and set them on the patio, and when she was handing them to me, she moved too rapidly and toppled sideways into a pile of stuff and fouled up her foot, knee, hip, back, elbow, shoulder, wrist, the whole 9 yards. So we spent half the day today at the VA.
Oh, boy.
Because that was the only emergency services that we could guarantee that she would be seen right away. And then they're like, nothing's broken, so here's some pain meds. Bye. Yeah, government bureau, your government dollars at work.
Yep.
So that's been the thing, and the thing for me is, you know, being ADHD, whether you're ADD or ADHD, or if you're on the spectrum or any of these sort of related issues, one thing above all else is scheduling. If we can't keep to a schedule, it throws a domino effect into everything we're trying to do. Whether it's me trying to, you know, keep the studio afloat, or work my job, or get art projects done for people, or whatever spoons I'm missing in my drawer right now. And I'm sure some of you are nodding sagely right now because this is extremely relatable. But this has been a constant spoon deficit since this started in November. So that's what's been going on. That's why my show schedule has been inconsistent. It's part of what led to Varias needing to take an extended vacation from streaming and other things. And I just hope
it's been happening.
And it just keeps happening. And I hope for now. I hope for now it's over, because we got to put everything back together. And now she's hurt. I'm partially disabled. Kelly is fully disabled. And all of our shit is out on the back patio.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I had come this close to postponing tonight's show and saying maybe we'll do it next week. Because I don't have anything scheduled for next week, and it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get anything in that slot in time. So. No, but it was a thought, but then it occurred to me, I got to keep the schedule.
Yeah.
I got to keep some semblance of sanity in my life, or this isn't going to
stability.
work.
stability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sanity and stability.
So we all agreed that that I'm just going to try to soldier on.
Power through it.
Exactly, and we're just gonna do this, and hopefully in the next couple of days we'll return to some semblance of sanity. So now that colossal rant's out of the way, Adam, what's cooking with you, buddy?
Then what's good, Mrs. Lincoln?
Hold on. The spotlight. Whee! It's like Adam,
The
what have you?
aristocrats.
Whoa, what's that now?
The
The aristocrats. Like,
Oh boy.
I mean, am I wrong?
Well, no, not really. I mean, it just keeps adding up.
Yeah. I'm like, it's a humiliation conga line over there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I guess let's see. My news for the week. It's hurricane season. So
Yeah, the only
Getting
thing I was going to say is you don't have to feel an obligation to try to top me on that one.
well,
I do not wish that to happen. Like,
yeah.
but once again, it's June. That the waters are warm, so the hurricanes they will be active soon.
they will
there's
be a
like-
foreman.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
gonna get your first taste with Alex this weekend.
I think that's in the Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah, that's gonna be coming. That should be right about up near there towards end of the weekend, early next week, though. From the forecast.
Yeah. So
Sorry, I forgot because of my little mini rant there. I forgot one thing really quickly. I'm reminding everybody to tune into the stream in the background so that way the viewer numbers go up to increase the likelihood we'll appear on the front page. I want to make sure that our guest gets every benefit of being on our program.
understandable. Anyway, so that involved going down to Sam's Club and getting a bunch of water.
Yeah, gotta make sure you have that kit ready to go.
Yep. I'm like, Grant. Hopefully, won't have to use that.
Won't have to use it, or at least won't have to use it until deeper into the summer. Because peak season is late August, early September. But again, a storm can happen at any time. It only takes one.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
I've had to flee hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well,
anyway, let's see. Guess what else? Dealing with a swollen lymph node this week.
oh boy.
And relax, it's not cancer.
It's not
Yeah,
a
I know.
tumor. Sorry. Mariah's is not here, so I have to do my bad Arnold impression.
I mean,
It's not a tumor.
no,
Anyway.
Anyway.
it's like, no, it's a lymph node, which is swollen, which can be a lot of things. It's like, I mean,
You have to get to the chopper.
it's mildly annoying, but give it a few weeks and it should go away. Reading up on things, it's like
Is there anything else attached to it? Like headache?
no,
Oh,
no,
okay. All right.
no. It's like it's soft, it's amorphous. It's been going down, but
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay.
I might still see the doctor though, just to be sure.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
Haven't decided yet.
Mm.
We'll see what happens there.
Mm.
Anyway, yeah, kind of light on the news this week.
All right. Petty fan, what's cooking with you?
Currently being attacked by my kitty. Yeah, Luna
you do.
decides that she wants to cuddle. In more pertinent news, we finally put our new air conditioner in.
Yeah, there
That
you go,
was
that's good.
painful.
Mm.
But yeah, it's in. Here's hoping this one lasts for 15, 20 years.
Hopefully.
Now, as far as the window frame, that's a whole other matter.
Well, they're relatively new windows. They were put in like 2000, 2002, somewhere in there. So they should be fine.
Hmm.
And yeah, other than that, not a whole lot to really discuss. Oh yeah, I did get one of my teeth fixed that were broken when I had my knee surgery a couple years ago.
I love the disconnected nature of those revelations. It was broken when I had my knee surgery. It's like, is there a causal relationship there?
Yeah, when they did the anesthesia, the anesthesiologist was a little aggressive with the blade and broke a tooth.
Oh, great. Wait,
So, yeah,
why does the anesthesiologist have a blade? Now there are way too many questions. We don't have time for this.
The thing to put the breathing tube in.
Oh, okay. I know. The calipers. Yes, okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm like,
But
what
yeah.
the fuck is going on here?
Don't worry about it.
Don't think about it. It's not happening.
Yeah, don't think about it too long.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that tooth is finally fixed. Oh yeah, Luna, do you want to keep cuddling? But yeah, I guess that's it for me while I get mauled by my cat.
All right. Golix, talk to me, buddy. Talk to me, Goose.
Well, I installed my air conditioner this past long weekend, since most of my other plans for the weekend got canceled, one way or the other, because our Pathfinder DM's wife was coming back from a thing, so
You
they wanted
you had the collapsing window frame.
No, Pettyfan did. He got his thing done fine.
I'm
I thankfully got to reinstall
Why does everybody have broken
my air
conditioners?
conditioner in the window that is under the overhang of the roof and not the one that was just on the flat side of the building, because it had to be on the flat side because for a few years we had propane tanks that it had to be not near because it puts off heat.
Yes.
But no, we got connected to town gas, I guess, or something now. So
Oh,
we don't
okay.
have the tanks anymore. So
Gosh,
I can put it back which is good because a couple of seasons on a window with no protection from rain did a number on the other air conditioner. So hopefully this one will last longer.
I just have to remember that this show is a pleasant cross section of how the other part of the country lives. You know, those of you who are off of municipal gas and power.
Well, I still live at my parents' house, so that's why I'm able to have that.
No, I totally get that. It's just funny to me whenever you guys talk about these little things, between septic tanks and propane and.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I am here to take care of all of your propane related needs. It's just always interesting to hear, because I'm just like, I live in an apartment. There, aside from the calamity of the 48-page Landlord-Tenant Act of Arizona that you just got the chapter and verse on, from a layperson's perspective, at the top of the show, my lifestyle is pretty uninteresting. I freely admit this. Possibly to my detriment. I won't be posting that on LinkedIn.
Yeah, otherwise, it's been fairly low-key. I did manage to get a box of the new set of Digimon cards and the starter deck, so I'll be playing that with my friend next time we get to hang out, hopefully. Trying out the new decks and seeing out how some of the... This is the set that introduced DNA Digivolving, so... We'll see how that goes. And... There was one other thing. I forget.
Is it Gundam related?
No, but we are still doing that.
Yes.
We're still playing through SD Gundam Generation Zero on Sundays. It's a little bit rough. We're at a stage that has a lot of grunts. Mac's not happy with it, but that's just how some of the early stages are. At least they're not heavily
Yeah.
armored things with a lot of hit points. Um,
Yeah, this is one of those stages where they decide to make you sweat right at the beginning of the game a little because you're not sure. They swarm.
Mhm.
It's a swarm. It's a swarm.
Mhm.
yeah, it's a swarm, but it's a swarm of fighters, not like actual mobile suits.
Right.
Unfortunately,
but we spent all of our EN in the first volley.
yeah, because partially
and then had
because
to dock.
yeah, that the EN you do not have a lot of energy in this game. It seems like,
Yeah.
and also you have to be very careful because even ammo attacks use it, and some of the bigger attacks use like a lot.
Yeah. So it was brutal.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And the other thing was that they announced some new Pokemon today at a thing that looked kind of neat.
Cool.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. Well, that's kind of it for the news. Oh, that's right, Kevin. Jesus Christ. We went way out of order there.
Yeah. I didn't want to say anything while the other ones were going because y'all were on a roll, so I didn't want to, butt in and everything.
Jump in there, Kevin.
Yeah, it's really quick. Other than to say, number one, usual stuff at AMC is agreed every weekend this weekend, and of course, I will not be here next week because I will be 1 week from tonight in Memphis, Tennessee, where I will be attending Anime Blues Con 2022 in downtown Memphis, Tennessee, at the rebuilt Renaissance Convention Center, and I'll be there next weekend, and hope to have a good time with some friends, and so yeah, that's basically where I'm going to be next week. I won't be here. If you're wondering where I'll be on vacation,
That's right.
if you will. So,
Well, a perfect week for inside the studio then.
there you go. So, that's what's cooking in my world, and after tonight, see y'all in 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. Well, now for the meat and potatoes of our show. Of course, tonight we have on the program Michael Corley. Michael is a actor, podcaster, entertainer, and a magician, and much, much more. Michael, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Right. Now, I'm getting waved at. Oh, boy. All right, Kira's off to the ER. So Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a brief introduction. As they say, the show must go on.
All right.
Well, thank you so much again. Everything you just said is absolutely true. I am all of those things. Back when I was 16 years old, this is my origin story. So get ready. I was bitten by a radioactive. No. I was. This is how old I am. I was working at the movie theater, and a trailer came on. You might remember this trailer. It was for the movie Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah.
And I heard a voice. I heard a voice say, "It was a matter of honor." Now, you might be thinking I'm talking about Don LaFontaine, who I later learned was the movie trailer guy.
Right.
It wasn't. And you can go back and listen to this on YouTube. It was the voice of Optimus Prime.
Peter Cullen.
Peter Cullen.
Yeah,
And my little brain went, wait a second, that's Optimus Prime. And there's a wonderful podcast on writing where one of the things they ask everybody is, when did you realize that you could write for a living? Because, a lot of people want to write, but then there's a moment where they go oh, wait, I could actually get paid for this. And that was my moment where I went, oh, that's his job. He goes and that's his job, and then he gets a paycheck, and the paycheck says voice actor. And I wanted to do that. And so I've been following this weird winding road down that sort of entertainment ever since.
I see. So this feels like some parts Transformers, some parts Last Action Hero.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
You're talking about the right time frame, that's for sure.
yeah, you got your golden ticket, and
Yep.
and you put it in the box, and now you're living the dream, right?
Well, I want to be very clear to everyone out there is that none of these things are my day job. I have a boring, regular day job, just like everybody else that pays for my mortgage and is putting my daughter through a nice college.
The
Uh,
the extravagant
so
lifestyle to which you've grown accustomed.
precisely. But I want to actually put that in a positive light because just because something isn't your day job doesn't mean that it's not your passion.
Right.
Because less than 1%, and I'm saying way less than 1% of people out there are doing what they wanted to do when they were a kid, doing that thing that is their passion, their dream. And we lie to children every single day and tell them that, and it's just not true.
Yeah.
And so rather than setting yourself up for the 99% chance that you will fail, forget it. Just go out and do it. And if you possibly can, figure out a way for people to give you some money, but don't stress about whether or not the thing that's your true passion, whether or not you can get paid for it.
Yeah. And the other thing that we need to emphasize very strongly is that there's no such thing as a timetable for success. The only proverbial bell that rings is when it's all over. You know, when they're putting us in the mausoleum or in the ground, that's when we'll be mellow.
It's my belief that it always has been that way, always. But the difference is it was more binary back in the day because back in the day there were many more gatekeepers because if you were a comedian, you only were famous. You had only quote unquote made it if you were on Johnny Carson, or you got a sitcom. Like
Right.
there were these huge gates that you had to go through.
Or a little further
Now,
back, Ed Sullivan. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, on a really big show.
Yeah.
And these things were enormous gates, and it was binary. You had either done it or you hadn't. And now it's like, well, what does it mean if I have 100,000 followers on TikTok, or what does it mean if I have 1,000 downloads of my podcast? That's there is no like one gate. It's just simply a spectrum across all of those things.
Right. Yeah, the gatekeepers have definitely changed quite a bit. That's pretty important. So, for you personally, how has life on the internet enhanced or been an impedance to your entertainment aspirations?
Well, first, as a side jag, I have to say this because you talked about my life. I literally met my wife on the internet.
Well, there you go.
And obviously that every day that becomes more and more common. But I did that in 1996.
Wow.
Ooh.
So our romance involved
days.
be dee 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 dong dong dong.
Dial up.
No.
Back when computers made this noise booting up.
Da-da-da-da-ding.
We know them all. We know them all. So in that sense, of course, the internet completely changed my life. By the way, we just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a call.
Again, I am old. But the way that it has shifted things is it has allowed me to find ways to gain revenue that were completely there was no way for me to do that before. So as a voice actor, the vast majority of my income comes from Fiverr. I'm very transparent about it.
Yeah, this is somewhat controversial. We should note this. This is somewhat controversial that when people say I work on Fiverr. So please continue. I just wanted to point that out for some of the folks listening who may not understand the nuance of the situation here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always happy to. But what I believe is that, um, first of all, there is no one way to success. There's an old saying that people like actors or voice actors, the when they go through a gate, they close the gate and then seal it shut.
Hmm.
You know that they're that gate. You can't just repeat like, oh well, this person's famous. Well, how do they do it? Well, they did it this way. Well, I'll do that. Well, it doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. And so there's this long twisting road that brings you. And again, I'm not by any means successful, but what I am is getting paid to do what I love.
Right.
And that is
Mhm.
extremely satisfying to me.
Yeah, I think that's very important because I like I said, I don't know if you ever got a chance to listen to any of our other stuff that we have on YouTube or our last news desk on the left show. But one of the big things that I like talking about is, and you've used the term repeatedly tonight, is gatekeeping. Part of the controversy around that is a lot of the people who are running an active campaign to denounce services like that are like constantly with the don't undervalue yourself. It comes a lot from the fact that a lot of people believe that if other people undercut their prices, that they won't be able to charge those big numbers. And my counter to that would be that if you have the talent, number one, and number two, you are in demand, then your pricing will not be affected by those who are trying to get into the ground level.
Absolutely. And so my favorite thing about my voice acting is my number one gig is Mickey Mouse. And it's telling kids that they're going to go to Disney World, which I mentioned specifically because it deeply amuses me. When I first started, my number one was Darth Vader, was telling
Ah.
kids happy birthday as Darth Vader. And just like in the real world, Mickey has surpassed Darth Vader, which was fantastic.
Well, because he's the god of entertainment, as I like to call him.
Yep, absolutely. But what I did was I took the thing that I'm really passionate about, which is doing dumb cartoon voices, and I made that into a package that was really easy for people to buy. Exactly to your point, there is no production house that is selling this service. So, I'm not undercutting another voice actor
Right.
who's going to do the voice of Doritos. You know,
Right. Yeah.
that's not happening. And if I only was going out for those, I have gotten those spots before. I once got paid $1,000 to record one spot, and it was for a local hamburger chain called Brahms, and it was about Brahms, a better built burger. And
Nice.
they paid me $1,000, and I ended up getting $850 after my agent's cut. And that's the most I've ever been paid for a voice gig. And and guess what? It's never happened again. So, if I was to pursue those, I would end up killing myself pursuing things that I don't actually want to do all that much. Like I enjoyed doing that one, but there's only so many times you can talk about Jeep Cherokees and try to sound excited.
Right.
You know, voice actors don't actually want to do car commercials. It's just car commercials are the ones that actually pay money.
Right. I think the key to understand is that while there is theoretically a market for everything, it's like like for example the fear that outfits like Fiverr and Voices 123 and all that are exploiting the talent is that a lot of the times the kinds of clients that would purchase those kinds of services would never go to a bigger house. They would simply do without. They would simply not exist at all. So the fact that there is a clearinghouse for these types of gigs gives opportunity to those who are willing to do it. And otherwise you're not losing anything because those people would never have come to someone else in the first place.
Hmm.
It's the same thing. We run into the same thing in the art community. It's like, well, you're exploiting so and so, and it's like, look, I asked them what they charge. I didn't come to them and say, I didn't come to them with a gun in one hand and a contract in the other and say you have to do this thing or die.
Absolutely. And the people who really understand things like Fiverr, they understand that it's all about time. It is about talent. Obviously, you have to have the talent in order to do it, but it's about time.
Right.
So people come and they say to me randomly, like, well, I would like you to make a new video. So I have a pre-packaged video because a lot of people, in addition to the voice, they would like to show their kids something.
Right.
And so I sat down with Adobe Elements and spent several hours and made a little video, and I'll sell that as part of the package. And they'll occasionally say, well, I would like a custom video that's made, with these specifications. I'd be great. It's $100. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, that would take me 3 hours. And so that's a really good price that it'll cost you $100. And by the way, I just make up that number because I know they won't pay $100 for it.
Right.
Because I'm not going to do it, and they're not going to pay me for it, and so that ends the discussion. So the idea, if you are going to market yourself on Fiverr, it's about creating a package that pays you enough money that it's worth your time, and also creating a package that you can put out very, very quickly.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that we cover as much material as possible here. So I don't want to make this I don't want to make this a symposium or a referendum on Fiverr. Now you also have a podcast, so let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, tell us the name of your podcast and what's your focus.
Wonderful. So my podcast is called the Chafing Armor Dungeons and Dragons podcast.
I'm excited already.
It has been running for over 5 years now with one campaign.
Wow.
Which is actually starting to come to the epic conclusion for the first campaign, by the way. We're not done yet. We're not done. But for the first campaign is coming to a conclusion somewhere towards the end of this year. But it is the story of a group of adventurers who were set out to protect a princess who had to use a magic staff to stop a god from coming through and destroying the material plane, and they failed. That is the first episode, is their failure.
Nice.
The staff is shattered. The army is decimated. One of them is about to be skinned alive by goblins. Everything has gone wrong. And that's where they pick up and have to try and save the world.
All right. Now, just to clarify, is this just a presentation of the session, or is it a more dramatic interpretation, a sort of radio drama?
So it is absolutely both. 90% of it is just the session.
Okay.
So I want to be very clear about that this is what you are hearing is the session itself. However, while I have never used my degree as a day job, my degree technically is in radio, television, film.
Oh.
And so when we are done recording, I then take all of those audios, I then clean them up, I sync them all, and then I go through and I edit the entire podcast. And while I am editing, I make little notes, and I come back and I add sound effects, and I add music, and little funny little touches. And so that's the other 10%, where I just kind of zhuzh it up so that it's a little more fun and entertaining for people to listen to.
I love it when people use industry terms.
Zhuzh it up. So a perfect example is we did a April Fool's episode recently. I guess let you guess when that came out. And the April Fool's episode,
June 8th.
My wonderful. That's how you make it real April Fools. My wonderful player Lee took over, quote unquote, as the dungeon master. He had his own campaign, and the campaign was a wacky body swap.
Oh boy!
I see
Um,
nothing. I can see no problem with this whatsoever.
It was a delight. So I was actually playing one of the characters, and I was
Hold,
playing.
hold on. Sorry. All right. Sorry about that. I had an emergency interruption there. Sorry about
No
that. Go
problem.
on.
I was not only playing one of the characters, but I was playing the dungeon master who had been stuck in one of the characters and had to play this out. So just how meta can you possibly get? But as far as the editing, poor Lee gave us this is a trope in D&D, gave us a very simple puzzle, but we couldn't figure it out. We were idiots. And rather than
You know what the
torture-
rule is for making puzzles?
What's that?
For each puzzle, give 3 hints, and then give 3 more hints because they're going to miss the first 3.
He gave us everything we needed, and we couldn't figure it out. We were very dumb.
I have to
But-
warn you that this setup is exactly how every one of my high school campaigns failed.
Yeah. Instead of torturing the poor listener as we terribly work out this puzzle, we finally did get there. We actually, and this was at Lee's this suggestion, I went back in, cut out about 10 solid minutes of us and stitched in the little SpongeBob, several hours later. And now it's delightful. It's delightful to listen to. But that's where I think good editing really makes a big difference.
Oh yeah. I'd agree with that on a personal and spiritual level, but I have no practical experience. Everything I do is live.
Well, I always tell people when I proselytize about editing and sound and music, it's like, well, remember the largest Dungeons and Dragons show in the world, which is of course Critical Role, does not edit. Their music is played live while the players are listening. Now, obviously, there's some very light editing where they snip out between breaks and stuff, but
Right.
real editing, no. So you don't have to do those things. I just like to do those things, and I like the way it sounds when it's finished.
I do too. It'd be nice to do that, but none of us have the skills, time, etc.
I've every once in a while, and it's just this thing now where I find other people, and they're just talking about like this is just awful. This is so bad. They're talking about the editing process, and I always share this story. So again, very old. My good friend who went to college with me, his degree was also in radio, television, film, but his was focused on film. Mine was focused on radio. So he is editing a film we made when we were teenagers. And how do you edit film back then? He had his VCR and he had a VCR camera, and he would very quickly stop. He'd stop at just the right moment, and that's how he would edit.
Our old Panasonic had a panel on the side of it where you could type in the titles.
Oh wow, now that's fancy. That's some video toast stuff. We didn't have anything like that.
I had a soundboard that used to pick up the basketball game. Adam can attest to this. We had this fiasco back in 2013 where we were picking up a U of A Wildcats game.
You people don't think it will happen, but it will. But our other friend was sitting at the couch watching us do this, and he suddenly became very agitated. Like he got very angry and he started fidgeting. And I looked over, I was like, "Well, what's the matter, man?" And he goes, It cannot take this long to edit this. It just can't." And he was just like it blew his mind that anyone would sit down and spend, a half hour making a 3-minute video. And that nothing has changed. Editing is just the worst level of tedium you could possibly imagine, but I find it so rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, I do get a great deal of satisfaction of clipping things together in Adobe After Effects.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not a intuitive program.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a drag and drop. It's not iMovie.
Yeah.
It's not iMovie, and if you, you get this overabundance of confidence because you think, oh yeah, I've got all the power of Final Cut Pro, but without all the rigmarole, and then you have to actually do something.
I do want to throw one thing out that you mentioned earlier about the plans that you have for the future,
Right.
and just to anyone who's hearing the sound of my voice, if you do have a podcast, I cannot recommend enough putting your podcast on YouTube. And I do not want to say that you have to put a tremendous amount of effort. All you need to do is whatever video editing software you have on your computer, just throw the logo as the video, throw the audio, export it, and put it up on YouTube. YouTube is the third largest search engine in the world. And it will, and think about when you go to Google now and you search, of course you get results, you get the little ads at the top, but what are the other things you see at the top? You see images and you see videos. And the reason I picked the name Chafing Armor, every single one of my players suggested a better name. Every single one. But when I went and looked for those names, there was something else. There was a book, there was a Twitch channel, there was a podcast that already was taken. Whereas the only Chafing Armor I could find, this is how minute it was in Skyrim, in one of the little scrolls you could pick up, there was an article on how to treat Chafing Armor, like a joke article, as a little Easter egg. So when it was that level of obscurity, I was like, I'm good. I'm choosing this. And so I guarantee anyone out there, I dare you right now to type in Chafing Armor in Google, and it will come up. My podcast will come up. My Twitter will come up. My YouTube channel will come up, because there is nothing else with that name.
It took me, Adam, back me up on this one. It took me about 10 years. But I took the I'm feeling lucky spot, the old I'm feeling lucky spot on Google with the word Moonhawk. So that way, when you click I'm feeling lucky, you go to the Starship Moonhawk official webpage.
It's very satisfying. I had a show a long time ago called Vox in a Box, which I thought was very original, but I didn't do that search. And what I found out later was there was literally a machine, like a part to a machine called Vox in a Box. And like it was like my nemesis, because it kept coming up.
Right.
And I learned my lesson when I made Chafing Armor.
Yeah. Fun tidbit for the listeners out there. This is some serious nerd speak. All of these things that we're talking about, the naming conventions for popping on a search engine, or even many of the search engines themselves, everything in technology is named after a inside joke that is so far inside that it would cause the batter to take the base. These are so far inside the strike zone, it's not even funny. And I always reference the scanning technology, Twain, whenever I bring this up. Nobody thinks twice about it when they use Twain technology to scan an image into their scanner. But they use it all the time. Oh, got to make sure Twain support is working. Well, what does Twain stand for? Technology without an interesting name.
I did not know that.
Every .com that popped up in the late 90s that crashed in 2001 was an inside joke in the industry. And these names that you've rattled off are no different. The name of this podcast, the name of this podcast is a reference to the old television anthology serials. It's like Mobile Gas Presents. That there. Here's a fun fact: there is no Moonhawk Studios. My company is called Moonhawk Publishing. There is no such thing as a Moonhawk Studios. But if you search for Moonhawk Studios, you will only find my podcast. So anyway, so I was just enhancing your dissertation there.
Absolutely, and I will talk until
I was
I'm
backing up
blue.
its validity. Yes. Anyway, sorry.
I will talk until I'm blue in the face about marketing. I love talking about it. I'm actually a marketing nerd, but what I want to tell everybody out there, because it's so easy to get in the weeds about this thing. It's like, oh well, if I have a YouTube channel, this color needs to be in the thumbnail, or that kind of thing, and that's how you make this work.
No.
Nothing matters next to your content. Everything is second next to your content. All of those things help. You absolutely should, do this and this and this if you can to make your thing easier for people to find. But at the end of the day, it's the content that makes a difference.
Absolutely. I've been in technology for 25 years, 27, and in that business, it's all the same. It's all about algorithms and search patterns, but all that does is get you to the door. It doesn't make people stay inside.
Absolutely.
If you have bupkis for content, people are going to leave every time.
Mm.
And that's why I always go for maximum entertainment value. I'd honk some kind of horn or something, but unfortunately my iPad soundboard is dead right now.
It is all good.
Waka waka? I don't know.
Well, some of the things that we do are very callous and calculating, but they work out. So I am a professional storyteller. And
Okay.
I've been telling stories to children since I was a child myself, since I was 16. I've been getting paid to do it since I was 16. But about a little over a decade ago, I was at a library for the summer reading program, which is coming right up. And I was talking to the librarian and saying, how many kids do you think are going to be here? And she goes, oh, we'll probably have 30 or 40 kids. Of course, we had 100 for the magician. And I said, really? As I stroked my metaphorical mustache. And I went and picked up 3 magic books, which I still have, and I just taught myself magic. And I had the advantage that I already had a platform that they were hiring me for doing the storytelling. And I just started adding the magic to it until I got good at it, or at least decent. And now I'm a magician, and now they book me to do magic instead.
See, that was a beautiful segue, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm very good at segues. My day job is in sales, and I had this one client that I would talk to, and she like raised an eyebrow at me, and I said, "What?" She goes, "I'm waiting for it." I said, "What?" She said, "I'm waiting for your transition." Because I know you're going to talk about 2 things, and I'm waiting to see what you're going to do. And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm going to do this," and
Yeah.
went right into it.
Let me put these 2 seemingly unrelated things together and spin you a tale. I used to sell high-end computer electronics on the same sales floor as garbage refurbished machines. So it was a bit of a challenge. You've got this person who's eyeballing this $2,700 custom PC rig for gaming and streaming and podcasting and doing whatever. And on the other side of the counter, they have this thing that looks somewhat flashy, but slightly dirty. That has a well-known name brand on it. And it is my job to find a way to discourage them from taking what they know is safe and going with this thing that is beauty that I have constructed in the back room for them and them alone. So believe me, I know all too well about this. I had a lot of enemies at Best Buy because of the fact that they didn't understand my entire process, which is not something you can actually teach, by the way. You can tell people, but they have to have an innate understanding of why it works. Like, not on an intellectual level, but on a spiritual level almost.
Well, I can tell anybody how to sell anything. I learned it from a professor. Ironically, even though I graduated from UT, this was after I went to UT. He came and did a lecture, and it was on selling. And it was 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
1, open with emotion. People do not make decisions rationally; they make them emotionally.
Right.
2, support it with real facts that are not cliches. So get your family owned and operated, and we guarantee your satisfaction. Just throw all that away. Let me know why really I should buy from you. And 3, have a clear call to action. Don't tell me 6 different things to do. Don't try to give me 2 different phone numbers. Don't tell me to call or email. Give me one thing to do, and that's it. If you do those 3 things, your odds of selling something are actually really, really high.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone out there needs to sell their next big project and become a billionaire,
There you go.
glad I could help.
Exactly. All right, let's do some quick rapid fire here. What is give us a project that you have done that you are particularly excited about?
There was a project I did that was a real labor of love, and it ended up teaching me so much. And it's still out there, by the way. You can Google for it right now. It was a podcast, and it was a short-term audio drama. So this is just straight up a drama. And it was called Vampire Needed. And I'd never done anything like this before. Myself and a gentleman named August, we co-wrote, I think it was 6 episodes, and the concept was it was a detective agency that stopped supernatural crimes, and they were looking to hire a vampire. And that was the central premise of the story. And the idea that there was a constantly falling down sign on the front of the detective agency that said "Vampire Needed."
Nice.
And I literally did not have the know-how to make this show because I had never done multi-track audio recording before. I had no idea how to do it. I didn't know how to. I had the only podcasts I had done before then were single audio track with maybe just adding a little bit of sound effects or music here and there now and again. And this is a complete soundscape. And it was a labor of love, and it was a torment. And it ended up literally teaching me how to make chafing armor, because I couldn't have made chafing armor if I hadn't have done that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was a great learning experience for me. It's a beautiful show. It's a great drama. If you're the kind of person who likes, like, the Dresden Files or something like that, you can look it up, and it's still just floating around out there. But that was a real project that really taught me a lot and really challenged me.
All right. As follow-up, a project that you would like to do but maybe haven't gotten the opportunity yet.
That is challenging because I have so many things. So I am an amateur cosplayer.
Okay.
And I really want to do a full-on, amazing, no-holds-barred, perfect Nightcrawler from the X-Men. Like, you look at this and you're like, holy crap, that looks like it came out of the movie.
That'll be tricky because of the fingers.
Yeah, but there are lots of solutions. My mother is an amateur seamstress. She's very talented. And when, again, old... when I worked at the movie theater, the second original Batman movie came out with the Penguin. My mother made me a Penguin outfit.
Oh, wow.
So she literally added a gusset to a tuxedo shirt so we could add the fat suit. But more importantly, to your point, she literally sewed 2 gloves, added padding so that they looked like the weird flipper gloves that he had in that movie. And so there is no reason that I couldn't replicate that for in a different way for Kurt. But with a tail, body paint, and the contacts, the whole shebang. I would love to do that someday.
Nice. I like that. I had a funny remark that I was going to make for it, and then I suddenly decided that it wasn't as clever as I thought it was going to be, so I'm going to let it go.
It bamfed away.
See, you did it. You nailed it. I was going to make a Banff joke, and you took it and ran with it. We must be psychic.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Either
I
that
get
or-
the weirdest looks because whenever more often than you'd think, it comes up as like, well, what would you get if you got a tattoo? And without hesitation, I say on my left arm, it would be the after image of Nightcrawler teleporting. And so all you would see is his tail and that telltale, teleportation. And on the right arm, it would be him appearing. And then just people just stare at me blankly. I was like, yep, that's what I would do.
That sounds like quite the gambit. But
Bum. First we charge the card, then we throw the card.
it's like, well, you can let me know if you're going to be here next time, and I'll make sure to walk on the other side of the street. That joke from Scrooged and that's an old vaudeville joke, by the way.
Oh man,
but
careful, it's an antique.
Well, and it was referenced in Scrooged, which is not a new movie, so Speaking of old, right?
Right.
1988. Seems like a lifetime ago now. And yet, like yesterday. Anyway, before I wax nostalgic, all right, we're running up on the end here, and I think that was pretty nice and painless there. Will you be making any appearances in the near future that you would like to plug?
Not especially. What I would just ask people is if you like Dungeons and Dragons, or you've listened to Critical Role or any of the other amazing podcasts out there that have Dungeons and Dragons, just type in Chafing Armor and give it a listen. Try it out. Or if you'd like to connect with me and see, what I'm up to and what's going on with Chafing Armor, just put it. Go check me out on Twitter or Instagram or any of the regulars, as I always say.
You guys do 5th edition? That's the popular one.
Yep. So we actually, again, this is 5 years old. At the time, it was really expensive to get the newest edition for everything, and we had a whole bunch of players. So we actually created a homebrew 3.5 campaign. Now, when we start the next campaign, we are going to use the new system because it's way more feasible now and easier, and like D&D Beyond and things like that. But at the time, back in like 2016, it was a lot more cumbersome.
That's interesting. I imagine 3.5 is a bit trickier to do in that kind of an environment, since the rules are, in general, a lot more complicated.
They are, but your dungeon master here is very comfortable homebrewing a whole bunch of stuff. By the way, if y'all are ever curious of the perfect homebrew, I can't recommend this enough, and I want to be clear, I stole this from someone else that I heard once a long time ago. If anyone, including the monsters, players or monsters, rolls a 1, immediately they roll a 100-sided die. Most of the time, nothing happens. They failed. If they roll a 90 to 94, they lose their turn. They literally fall over and lose their turn. Something bad happens. However, 95, 96, 97, 98, and 99, something really bad happens to them. And if they roll 100, it is instant death. Now, with my players, I do not actually kill them, but I put something lethal towards them. And it ended up one of my players literally got bitten half by a zombie shark. Because this happened to him.
Candy
I
grab.
don't know, we use a fumble chart, and sometimes it's kind of annoying.
Yeah. So
Shark.
what I like about this one is that it is very, very unlikely, but it's always there. And whenever that
That's
one
still
comes
1 in
up,
400.
exactly. And yet it happens because there are so many dice rolls throughout a campaign of Dungeons and Dragons. So, and occasionally a monster will kill itself by rolling 100. So it's amazing. Anyway, that's just my little tip as a dungeon master.
Well, I think that's an excellent point. We used to play back in the second edition days, so back in the
Wow.
back in the bad old days of THACO calculations and.
Do not speak to me of the old magic.
Echo is exactly the same as base attack bonus if you count backwards.
Mm.
I was there, Gandalf. I was there with Isle of Dread.
Yes. I saw the magic of the old ones with my own eyes. Yes. All right.
But yes.
Fantastic, Michael. You have been an absolute delight. You exemplify the kind of guests we love to have on the program. Just so easy to talk to, and I really appreciate that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure talking to all of y'all, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Be sure to check out Chafing Armor on the streaming platform of your choice. Most notably YouTube. We can't drive that point home enough. And you'll hear from our friend Michael Corley. And hopefully, if something pops in the future, we can have you back on the show and we can talk some more and fill in some blanks that may have come up. I'm going to re-listen to the podcast and see if you said anything that I can mine for information for a potential repeat. But definitely, it was a real pleasure talking to you, and we're glad to have you. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
All right.
All
Now for entertainment.
right.
All right, Adam, why don't you lead the discussion?
All right.
Let's see. So, as we'll start with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers
Yep.
Discovery.
The best man is doing things.
Which is
Oh.
not surprising.
Yeah.
Um,
He is being very, very, very hands-on. Very.
which is pretty typical for a post-merger world.
No, not necessarily. There's been times in Hollywood where, it's like, oh shoot, I have all of this. I don't know what to do with it.
Keep in mind, they're not exactly alien to the business. I mean,
Yeah.
Discovery, okay, it's non-scripted, but it's not AT&T where you're completely fucking different business.
Yeah, they know what the entertainment business is. They've never been in the motion picture business in a big, substantial way before.
Yeah. But, yeah. Anyway, so Zavlov is wanting to refashion the Warner Brothers picture group into 3 segments.
Right.
And
he wants to he basically wants to do what they did at Disney after they got all their stuff that they've gotten. They want to split it into 3. First is Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema in one vertical. They're verticals is what they're called. Silos, whatever you want to call it. First one is Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema. Michael DeLuca and I forgot who the other one is. They got announced. They formerly of MGM before the Amazon buy. They're going to be heading up that division after Toby Emmerich, who came into Warner Brothers just about a year or so before AT&T came in. Toby's going to be leaving the top position at the water tower, as we like to call it lovingly. He'll be moving off into a production deal, and Michael and Adby, I forgot her first name, but Adby, Michael DeLuca, funny enough, he used to be the head of production at New Line back in the 90s, and he helped bring you such things as both Austin Powers and also Little Nicky. So your mileage will vary with him.
Well, that's the
right, but that's one of them.
That's the bigger chatter that's going on in regards to Warner Brothers.
Right, but
Not-
that's the
but-
first one. There are two others.
Yeah.
The second one is solely for Warner Brothers Animation. They have not named anybody for that yet. They're looking, so stay tuned for that. And then, of course, our good friends at Detective Comics, aka DC.
This is the big one.
Yes.
Hmm.
Because DC is looking to become its own film division.
Right.
And from what's been spoken about, it looks like, they're courting Alan Horn to come back to the Water Tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they're looking to do.
And if you don't know who that is, bit of a history lesson. He's the guy who really helped make Warner Brothers the powerhouse that it was in the aughts to early 2000s. He's the one who guided Warner Brothers Pictures through the Harry Potter years and Lord of the Rings and shit like that.
Yep.
And he's also the guy who, after being forced to retire by AT&T or something like that, he's the guy who went over to Disney, got the Marvel team to stick around, including Kevin Feige, and you know what happened there.
Feige.
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
And but more to the point, he specifically got all of these silos in order over there. Like you have, and there was a lot of things to think about, not just Marvel, but just on Lucasfilm, Walt Disney Pictures and Walt Disney Animation, Pixar, all of these things. And he was the guy who pretty much got shit in order.
Right, but his biggest accreditation is basically, helping cement Marvel into the powerhouse that it is today.
Yeah.
Point is, he's got a lot of credibility to his name.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, not the only ex-Disney name that's been attached to DC. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Because apparently Bob Iger has also been consulted on this.
Yeah, they're being consulted on this. There hasn't been, from what I've read, I don't think there's been discussion about any of them actually joining up with this, because I don't think that either one. I don't think that Alan Horn would be there just for DC, because he was more than just Marvel over at Disney. He was the whole motion picture group.
But the focus here, but that's kind of what's the connective tissue here. They're being consulted in context with DC, because as we covered, I think what was it last week, the DC expanded universe really needs some fucking direction. They need something, because they're floundering.
Yeah.
And once again, it's not helped by.
Yeah, there's no direction. There's no firm strategy. There's none of that.
Now I've seen that there's concern that everything's going to look like Joker or the Batman, and I think it's way too early to say what's going to happen.
Well, the reason why there are those fears is because it's also been reported that Zaz is, as he's lovingly referred to, by the way, Zaz is actually talking with Todd Phillips, aka Mr. Joker, who to consult on the process, and also perhaps be something a little bit bigger in terms of the overall DC group. And I think the worry there is that it becomes a lot more about gritty, dark films like Joker and the Batman, instead of something with a little bit more life. So, but yeah, from what I've read, Alan Horn is being, and Iger being consulted as to the overall, putting things in silos and having them all come to him. like it was at Disney, where they had all these silos and they went to either Alan or to Bob, and that's that's wants to do with Warner Brothers, which if it works if it works with Disney, it should work there, especially considering that there's a lot less stuff at Warner compared to Disney. It should be a lot easier to do that. You would think.
You would think, but
You would think.
Gorsh.
now, well, it's always important to remember that
Nothing's ever easy in that town. Nothing.
yeah, and nothing's ever easy with the DC movies either.
No, it's not. No.
But going to like the other side of the pond, or like I'm not exactly sure where Netflix is in relation to.
Down the highway. Just say down
Yeah.
the highway at this point.
Anyway, point is, like, speaking of refocusing, well, not as extensive as we're seeing with Warner Brothers Discovery, because
That's,
Netflix
yeah.
isn't quite revamping its entire structure, or at least not yet. I
don't know about that, honestly, considering what they're basically now going to undertake.
I'm saying they're not forming new divisions and all that stuff. Believe me, yeah, they are undergoing some transmogrification here, because
recalibration.
Yeah, and we've mentioned this before, but there was a new article in the Hollywood Reporter today that stated that Netflix is looking to have a new movie mandate: bigger, fewer, and better. And what does this mean? It means, well, basically Netflix is trying to get costs under control, because it's not exactly been frugal with its purchases in recent years.
Yeah, it's one for big ticket properties to try to get that Oscar, if you will. I'm specifically to this conversation. Think The Irishman, which was a big thing for Netflix. They went hard on it, and it did not pan out well for them. So, and
I don't think we know if it. I mean, that's kind of one of the problems.
The opacity of the streaming services and how they actually profit and lose money is alarming.
Let me rephrase
to
that.
put it
Let me
mildly.
rephrase.
For the record,
I don't think it's more. It didn't pan out well for them. It's more like it didn't do what they thought it was going to do.
Well, here's the question: what did they think it was going to do? Once again, we don't know.
Well, I think they wanted to go for Oscars because this is Scorsese. This is a Scorsese gangster film. I mean,
it's also kind of a prestige project. Like the point of it was to might have been to create something that they think would bring them a good reputation for having made.
I suppose, but that was a controversy piece, though, because of the fact that was right about the time old Marty came out against superhero films and started slamming them when he. They kind of rebuffed him. Let's not forget that he was an executive producer on Joker, and was originally slated to direct it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think with that, I don't think it wouldn't have mattered because, when we're talking about, again, gangster movies, they have their own audience separate from the superhero fan base. And
I'm just saying that there was a number of gambits in play there, and that one of them was, Marty trying to leverage his film there. Against the popularity of a film that he personally felt rebuffed by.
Yeah, probably. maybe that might be it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just saying there was a lot of things in play there.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure the thing about like not pursuing any more quote expensive vanity projects or whatever just means they're like, well, we're only gonna do stuff that we think is gonna sell now that we're pretty sure we're not gonna be able to continue getting our investors to think we're gonna make infinite money forever.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm like, it's hard to say because it's also like cutting the other direction, perhaps less mid-budget movies. Like,
It's kind of a shame though because it always kind of sucks when art becomes subservient to business.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can call some of the shit that Netflix puts out art.
Look, it's still technically art even if it's not good art.
Yeah, and and also some of those things aren't necessarily from Netflix. They're distributed by Netflix too. Let's keep that in mind. Like not everything was made by Netflix. It was more bought by Netflix for the distribution rights. So
Well, even there,
yeah.
they've been spending a lot of money. Like they spent what was it, 150 mil on the Knives Out sequels?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, those films are,
well, I bring up those in specificity because there are some interesting rumors going around Knives Out 2. And that is, Netflix may be bowing to tradition here. It's only rumors right now, but Netflix may be looking to bring this to theaters and not like
I mean, to be quite frank,
let me finish because not just like for a limited run for an Oscar like they did with The Irishman or Roma or what have you. They're prestige pictures because of Oscar rules. No, apparently this would involve invoking the 45 rule. Okay. And what that means is having the pay window or, the theater, like this movie would not be coming to Netflix until like 45 days after its run. Which is, once again, kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, but also not terribly surprising.
No,
considering,
I mean,
considering that Netflix is just kind of blowing past a whole bunch of pledges that they said that they would never do and are now doing because, money talks and bullshit walks.
That's right. There you go. For the Knives Out sequels, though, I mean, it's like with this cast that they have for these things, it's like, yeah, you got to think about at least putting this in theaters for at least a limited run, if not for a full run, because these are the kind of movies that would bring people out. They would because of the star power here and because of the, the content. So the kind of films that these are. So if Netflix is indeed gonna do that, it makes perfect sense, and they would probably make just as good amount of money doing that than they would just putting it on the Netflix because Knives Out are the kind of movies that should probably be in theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in general, it's probably a good thing that Netflix is going to be cutting back and actually focusing on some shit because these have been complaints for ages, and as far as further erosion of their principles, that is to say, them doing weekly releases. So they're right now they're experimenting. Like with Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Netflix isn't committing to weekly, but they're clearly seeing the limitations of just banging out a season and being done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Stranger Things Volume 1 came out, and that's 7 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I've only gone through 2 because, good God, each one of them is at least an hour long.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a time commitment. But, on July 1st, we got episodes 8 and 9, Volume 2, coming out. So, and not the first time they've done this with a major property either. The Arcane series that they released last year, it was released in 3-episode batches. So they're clearly seeing the the seasonal pump and dump as a bit of a limitation. It's they haven't done anything like what HBO Max or Disney Plus is doing, and that is, their big marquee releases are coming out weekly. Like, they do release weekly shows, but those are licensed programs or reality shows right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that they may not eventually land on the weekly slot, but there's a certain amount of irony here. Like, there's definitely a certain amount of irony in Netflix. I guess, for lack of a better term, succumbing to tradition.
Yeah.
Like, remember, they're the company that disrupted everything. Introduced all these new paradigms, and now that their asses are getting kicked, they're doing things that not only are the competition doing, but have been done for decades. Like fucking advertising. Again, looking to go into movie theaters and having, a limited release window in between the two, and something approximating a weekly release schedule. Like I said, these are all practices that have been around, tried and tested, and it's just very, very hilarious to watch, in my estimation. And I think that'll about do it for the entertainment side of things.
All right. Got nothing. Thought I had something to wrap this up, but I will be back here, of course, on Twitch tomorrow with hopefully, if he has time, Galix will be lurking in the chat while we do more of Final Fantasy IV, the After Years. I did not get to do any off-stream work on this at all.
Well, it sounds like you've been busy.
Yeah, so we're gonna feebly attempt to get through Porom's segment and proceed with that.
We're finally done with the chapter of ninjas with entirely too many combo attacks.
Ninjas without borders.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, we're finally done with ninjas. I did succeed in completing that last week, and we started the next scenario, and I failed spectacularly and died. So there'll probably be a little bit of stream grinding, hopefully with funny commentary. So I hope you'll all join us tomorrow for more gaming goodness. And then next week we have no guest, which suits me fine because Varias isn't coming back just yet. The plan is the following week she'll be back with I thought it was going to be the Wednesday broadcast, and that will be Sabrina Pandora, who is a cosplayer and a actor and sculptor and artist, muse, and she's just a great many talents. And I've known her for a while on Facebook and followed her, and she's just a delight to talk to and see perform. So we'll be having her on the broadcast on, what is it, the 15th? I think is our next broadcast date where we have a guest. Yeah, that'll be June 15th. So I'm looking very much forward to that. And that'll be it. So next week we'll be talking the usual nonsense with the crew. I'm not going to sweat trying to get a guest on the program on such short notice. That usually does not bode well. So that's it for this week's episode of Moonhawk Studios Presents. Again, a big thank you to Michael Corley for being on the broadcast and being an awesome guest. And hopefully one of these days I'll get all of these episodes cleaned up and uploaded to the YouTubes. One other quick note. Fridays and Saturdays I'm now doing multi-streaming. I am streaming my FPS Shenanigans and Mobile Mayhem programming to both Trovo and YouTube simultaneously. So now you have a choice of where to watch my alternative broadcasting, basically my non-podcasting, non-retro stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, then be sure to check out trovo.live/MacPaladin or youtube.com/Mr. Palladino for all of your FPS gaming and TPS gaming goodness. So until next time, I'm your host, Mac Paladin. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.